All right, good morning, guys. Quick sound check. Let me know you guys can hear me. It is Tuesday, July the 9th. And a wonderful Tuesday it is. We have 7 days, straight sunshine, 90 degrees. At least where I'm at. I don't know about where you guys are, but hopefully it's as nice. Morning, Mike. All right. What is going on? All right, let's get started here for today. Looking forward to all the YouTube comments and Instagram comments today about the Nasdaq position going to 8,000. Trailed out of that position yesterday, so completely flat the Nasdaq on that. Was up like, I don't know, I think 30 some points or so at one point on that trade. Ended up coming back and basically stopping out for break even, plus 5 ticks on that. But nonetheless here, we've got some other trade setups for today, and I'm still liking that idea of NASDAQ to 8,000. Just going to need to find another entry into that. So what we're looking at for today on the Forex Factory calendar here is going to be a whole lot of nothing. We got Jolt's job openings at 10 a.m. there. This guy was speaking at 8:45. It doesn't really look like we did too much around him speaking. I don't know if he actually still is speaking or not. But anyways, so nothing really there to kind of pay attention to for news announcements on the day. You guys do any good antique picking lately? Yeah, Mohammed, you can shoot me an email, support@majorleaguetrading.com. All right, so we've got S&Ps here down 0.39% on the day, NASDAQ down 0.40% on the day, Russell down 0.43% on the day, and the Dow down 0.44%. So everything's pretty much lockstep this morning within about 0.05% of each other. So there's really nothing there in terms of one standing out more so than the other. Like I said yesterday, we were having some interesting kind of switches back and forth there as we went through the highs, where Russell was actually looking like it wanted to be the leader, Dow was looking like it wanted to be the leader, and then Russell just kind of gave up the goose and sold off all day yesterday from those highs. Over almost a 20-point range, I think, in the total session for the Russell yesterday, so including the overnight session. So it was a pretty decent sized range in there. But let's get started here, take a look at some levels we're outlining for today and kind of where this market can go. So we're currently gapping down 2967s or so right in through here where the cursor's at. Have a couple levels in place we can mark up here. Number one being 2961.50s. Overnight lows so far, overnight lows 2963.50, so we got about 2 points in front of that level. The next level below there is going to be 2956.25, and then we still have these basically 2975.75s in place. We can adjust that and kind of trail it up into this little stick, maybe. Can we? There we go. 2975 quarters. So within 2 ticks of that prior target there yesterday. So looking at the board here today, my game plan first thing. So if we kind of analyze the trend currently where we're sitting at, we obviously are in a larger time frame uptrend. You can see here we've rallied out of these lows down here close to 2700s, and we've been working our way higher. Right now, the hourly chart has stalled and gone sideways here. So we're looking at a sideways market now with a gap down. This 2961.50 level is going to be important. If we can trade down to there first thing in the morning, crack those 63.50 overnight lows, and tag 61.50s, then I'm going to be looking at a long setup off that level with good reactions. Same thing as yesterday. I'm not looking for the second, third test on the day, even though they can work. Most likely they are not going to, and I want to try and avoid those. Targets off 2961s here are going to be 2975 quarters. Overnight highs here are 79 and 79.50s. So we can definitely get to these targets. We got about 16-point overnight range here, and we're looking at about a 14-point target here if we can get down into 29.6150s. Where I'm not going to be looking to take any trades is if we're between 29.6150s and 29.56 quarters. This 5-point range through here, I want to do absolutely nothing with that. We can test those 29.56 quarters. I would rather us not test those 29.56 quarters, because if we do in fact test those and then end up breaking at some point in time, either today or later into this week, we're looking at a pretty decent down move from there that I think, first targets on that would take us down into 29.36s. And then I think that gets us, down into 29.24s. And then that really opens up the door for kind of working back into 2900. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 29.6150s need to hold. If not, I think this market could, in fact, get all the way back down into 2,900 here before it actually gets back up to 3,000. So it's got a couple stopping points along the way, but this 29.6150 is going to be super important. It is the first higher low pullback after the breakout of the consolidation and the new uptrend. So a combination of a bunch of things right there that this level comes into play for in the S&Ps. So like I said, I am going to be looking at longs off there. I am going to be looking at swings off of that point as well. If this market is going to hold, it's going to hold from in that range, 29.6150s. And if it can do so, then that gives us a nice target, kind of back up here towards 3,000 on the S&Ps. Moving over to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is also one that I want to take a look at today from a swing perspective. Has a little bit of a different chart makeup here. That same level that we're looking at for 6150s in the S&Ps is actually 7780s in the NASDAQ. So the reason I was willing to take that swing trade yesterday off of 7780s is the exact same thing I just said, right? It's the gap up, pullback, the gap up over the consolidation, breakout, pullback, first higher low that started this new uptrend, right? So it in fact broke. We traded a little bit 2.5 points through it yesterday, and it did in fact end up breaking here in the overnight session, and we've traded lows of 77.43s. I've got another level in here, 77.62s, and then we're pretty much open air all the way down here in towards basically 77.25s or so. And realistically, I think we can kind of discount part of that bar, and we've got room all the way down here into 76, 71, 75s. So NASDAQ here has the potential for a 100-point down move from where we're currently trading at, which is 77.69 quarters. We've got potential to get all the way down into 76, 71, 75s. Now, these levels here have participated in the overnight session. So 77.80s has participated, 77.62s has participated, and even one of the levels that we outlined last night in the video of 96.50 also participated. So if we drop this down into a 5-minute chart and turn the extended session on, you can see here we sold off right at the open, tagged this 96.50, tried to get something going, pushed through it, rallied back to it, tested, sold off, pushed through it again, tried to get up back up through 7,800s, get something going, sold off. We got one tick in front of that 77.80 level there, retest, bottoming tail. You can see it tried to hold, couldn't in fact hold, and just dipped right down into 77.62s, and has been in and around this level a number of times here through the overnight session. So and again, I did get trailed out kind of right in through this, which is completely fine by me. So the question now is, what's the game plan for today? S&Ps are not quite at that same level of 77.80s that the NASDAQ's at. S&Ps are a little bit stronger, NASDAQ's a little bit weaker. What can we do from this? Well, first things first, I'm going to be paying attention to 77.62s. If that level breaks on the day, right, we've got about a 5-point pullback or so that we're looking for here in the S&Ps. If the S&Ps pull back 5 points, most likely NASDAQ can kind of crack that 77.62, which will be okay. I'm going to start looking at longs again in the NASDAQ back up over 77.80s in here. So between 77.80s and 77.62s, I'm not really going to be looking to do too much here. under 77.62s, I will start looking at shorts. But the only way I'm going to start looking at shorts in the NASDAQ is if S&Ps are failing on the 6150s. If S&Ps are still pulling back to that 6150 and the NASDAQ, has cracked under 77.62, then I'm not going to be looking to short the NASDAQ under 77.62 when the S&Ps are still trying to come into their support level. Hopefully that is making sense. That's a lot of little kind of nuances there with what I'm looking at for kind of the NASDAQ S&P correlation for the day. It would make it really nice if this market would just trade the same levels at the same time, but that's just not the case that we're getting today. So if we get down under 77.62s, we can start looking at shorts if S&Ps are under 6150s. If we can get back above 77.80s on the day, preferably after the S&Ps have traded their support level as well, then I like the idea of stepping back into this and looking at a new long position in there for the move back up towards 8,000 that we were kind of talking about. So awesome. Glad that makes sense, Mike. Going to cover the Russell and the Dow here real quick. We might run out of time for gold and crude, but they're not really doing too much either. So taking a look at the Russell here, Russell down 0.43% here, and I'm just going to flip back and forth between these charts real quick and just kind of visually, I'm going to do it kind of fast. Visually, you'll see a big difference here. So we're going to start off with the S&Ps. So we're going to go from the S&Ps to the NASDAQ to the Russell to the Dow, right? So there's a big difference here in the movement we're seeing out of the Russell, the NASDAQ, Russell, NASDAQ, right? First things first you're seeing is, okay, we got a big gap up the other week. We pulled back and then got our rally. Here's our July 4th holiday. Well, on July 4th holiday on NASDAQ and S&Ps, we're pretty much right at highs. And Russell here has got a lot of room to go to get to these highs way up here that we set back in, early May of this year. So Russell here in the grand scheme of things, a little bit weaker. Its pullback levels are not quite as good as the rest of the markets here, and as good meaning just as strong and identifiable. And the reason for that is Russell is still going a little bit sideways, right? The rest of the markets had this consolidation, this pullback. We broke out above it, pulled back, and then went higher. Russell broke out above its, kind of consolidation area here in this little bit of a downtrend that ended up being a daily downtrend into a buy setup, and then ended up failing and now going sideways, and now on the brinks of actually kind of cracking this 5680 level, which is going to be the support level that could in fact drop this market in a big way. So I'm going to be paying attention to the Russell today in and around 5680s. It's about 5 ticks away from where it's currently trading at. It's traded down to 55.50s in the overnight session so far. I would like to personally see the Russell hold this 5680. That would give me a little bit more confidence in the S&Ps and the NASDAQ and the rest of the markets that they can go higher here, is that the Russell is able to hold. But if the Russell does in fact crack that level, we've got a lot of room to go here. There's a few stopping points along the way, but ultimately, we're looking at probably a 30-point drop easily in the Russell. Most likely about 20 points would end up happening rather quickly on the same day. So there's a possibility that if Russell does crack today, we can get about a 20-point down move in here, come somewhere down here in this kind of 1534.10 area. Is kind of where I would look for that to go. But like I said, I would prefer to see this kind of hold up here. And I'm not going to look to do too much with it until, again, S&Ps are on their support level. Same thing with the NASDAQ. I'm not going to look to short the Russell on, even if it's under its level, when the S&Ps are just finally pulling back into support. All right. But Russell is going to be kind of extremely important going forward, I think, with kind of some of the trends that it's having. And it's done that before where it gives us, a really big day to the downside. And then, 1 or 2 days later, the rest of the markets will end up following through. So I do want to make sure I pay attention to that, because if that is going to be the case again, then that 100-point down move we're looking for in the NASDAQ, we could potentially catch that in the overnight session and wake up and Nasdaq's down, 90 to 100 points, and we're at targets and we call it a day by 9 o'clock. So we'll see if that ends up holding true or not, but Russell, one way or another, is going to trade that support level today. And last but not least here, the Dow. So Dow currently trading 26,673s here. We had a support level in place yesterday right in here at 788s, and you can see we pretty much stayed, well, we didn't pretty much, we did stay inside the first hourly range of the Dow yesterday, which was 95 points. We stayed inside that all day long. So to say that yesterday was a consolidation day for the Dow would be a very correct statement in that. And we're gapping down this morning 121 points. We're trading down here towards 672s and overnight lows in there 657s. I've got some levels here in the Dow, 26,648s, and then down here into 26,614s. Again, this is going to be the same level as 6150s, the 648 as the 6150s in the S&Ps. The only difference here is Dow got the gap up, but didn't clear the highs, right? You can see the highs are up here. We didn't get the breakout of this consolidation, but we did finally get the pullback, the rally back, and the higher low for us to keep pushing higher. So if this 26,648 level fails on the day, which we got about 9 ticks away from trading that in the overnight session, then again, the Dow could be in for some serious problems. So that 6150, that 7780, and this 648 level in the Dow are all going to be the same price point on the chart, just a little bit different structure of how each one of those markets has gotten there and which one of those markets is going to hold. You can see 7780s in the Nasdaq. We tried to hold it all day yesterday. Came down, tested it once, and then came back down to try and test it the second time, and was able to hold it, while the S&Ps and the Dow were trying to hold it. So Nasdaq was a little bit weaker and got there first. So we'll see here today if Dow is going to come down and trade this level. I think it's going to trade it prior to the S&Ps trading 6150s. Again, Dow only has, what is that, about 25 points or so to get there now, compared to the S&Ps have about 5 points they need to pull back. So it's going to be kind of an interesting little mix and dynamic here. I'm going to be taking it a little bit slower and easier this morning, because if we do set a trend break here on the hourly chart today, then we're going to have to start flipping our biases here and looking to the long side. If we're going to hold off these levels, then it's a really good spot to tag a swing entry here into the next leg to the upside. But knowing which one of those is going to be the right direction to trade yet is yet to be known. We'll have to wait for the markets to open in order to see that. So market's going to be open here in about 3 minutes. I would be coming back with everybody in the MLT Discord to trade live with you guys for the first hour to hour and a half of the trading day. If you are watching this video for the first time or for Major League Trading in general, go ahead and click that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up on this video. Would greatly appreciate that. And I go live each and every morning sharing my thoughts and analysis with you guys. So you do want to be subscribed there, and it's free. So no reason not to. If you want to join me in the MLT Discord, there's a link in the description below. Happy to have you guys in there. And I will see you guys back in just a couple minutes in there. Take care, trade safe today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.